Welcome to the Better Business Podcast. I'm your host, Austin Zelan. Join me week after week as I interview high-level entrepreneurs on their journey to success, both in business and personal development. Each week presents new stories to learn from and new ideas on how to run a better business. Stay updated with all the guests we'll have by subscribing to this podcast. Welcome to another episode of Better Business with Austin Zelan. Today we have our special guest, Debanjali Kamstra. She has a lot to share about entrepreneurship and pageantry and a lot of the things that she's been able to accomplish in her life. So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to learn more about your story and kind of your upbringing and what got you to where you're at today. I know recently you got such an amazing award. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about that. But to kind of start things off and wrap everything into one concise story, what would you say is like where your professional career started and how did that get you to where you're at today?
Thank you so much, Austin, for inviting me today in your podcast. And it's a great energy and a lot of, I think a lot of hard work to become an entrepreneur. Let me directly go to the point like you asked me, how did I start it and how did I reach to today, wherever I am, right? So I've been in Dubai for last 15 years and I started my career working for Emirates Airlines as an air hostess. And I worked there for a few months, maybe a year, I would say. And I realized that I love the job and obviously the lifestyle, but that was not the career that I was looking for. So I decided to do something of my own, and I always had a passion for interiors and architectures and all this kind of industry.
Yeah.
So I thought let me start a company which is focused on interior. 2012, I started this company with like around 4 guys, which is out of the 4, one of them was me. And today in 2024, we have more than 200 employees in our company.
Wow. And what company is this?
It's called Veloce Contracting and Technical Services. And we do a lot of projects with governments now in UAE. We have done a great projects with Dubai Health Authority, Dubai Civil Defense, and Community Development Authority, and going on.
Yeah. And so, what kind of services do you provide?
We are providing turnkey fit out. With the word we use as a turnkey means you just turn the key basically. So you give us a project where we will give you a full design facility, like design services. And then after the design is done, we do the government services and then we do the entire fit out. I have an entire team of in-house. We have a factory of our own, which is producing all the carpentries and furnitures and everything. And at the end, we also give you a 1-year defect liability period. So if something goes wrong, we come and fix it for you. Yes, and our project scales are starting from 1 million up to 50 million dirham in Dubai.
Wow, that's awesome. So basically, somebody wants to do a remodel or something like that. They hire you. You take care of all the design, all the government approvals that are needed.
Yes.
And you're also offering them a year of
defect liability.
Exactly. Yeah. So if anything goes wrong, you come back and it's fixed.
Yeah. The thing is, our 90% of the projects are commercial. So we do hospitals, restaurants, big offices, sales centers, big studios as well. We also build studios and stuff. 10% is like residential. I'm very picky with residential project because I must know the client very well before I pick their project. Because
why is that?
Because in residence, clients tend to change their mind too fast. Like today they like something, tomorrow they don't like it. And then, it's very difficult. Like if they don't know how interior industry runs, then they don't understand. Like they don't understand the architectural background,
Yeah.
And they think sometimes it's like a drive-through McDonald's service. Like you can just order now and you get it tomorrow, which is not possible. Yeah.
And so what inspired you to get into this industry in the first place?
It's extremely versatile. You deal with different kind of clients and every project is so different. It's absolutely not monotonous. It's totally so different. Projects are different, clients are different, environments are different, designs are different. And I like versatility in my life. So I get very bored if I am in a monotonous situation. Yeah.
Okay, so you like the aspect of it that it was just versatile and always changing, and
Yeah.
you had new things to focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, what were some like challenges or obstacles that you might have faced earlier on as you're building this organization? You know, you started with 4 people, now you're at 200 plus. What were some challenges?
The challenges which I faced, I believe most of the entrepreneurs face. First of all, I started with no financial help. Like whatever I did was all from my own. Like I keep securing job, and that money I used to grow my company. You know, I was not given a fund or an investment. I never had an investor until today. I don't have an investor. So the entire organization that was built is all hard-earned money from the hard work that I did. So that was definitely one of the biggest challenge. I would have grown even faster if I had an investor or somebody to back me up financially. Other than that, you know, UAE is a place where the labor laws are very strict. Here, the laws are more on favor of the labor than the employer, which is a fact, you know.
Yep.
So employees has always been a bit of challenge, you know, to have the right employee, to have the right set mind employees. That was a challenge. But again, I have gained experience running the business for last 12, 13 years. So now I know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what's some advice if somebody's just learning how to deal with employees in the UAE? What's some advice you have for them?
The advices that I have is don't build a lot of expectation from your employees. The moment you start building a lot of expectation, you will end up with disappointment. So you have to understand that not everybody is like you, because we want everyone to be like us. Like I want my secretary to think like me. I want my finance manager to be, you know, to manage the cash flow like I manage. But it is not possible, you know. There are different people. So I think that's the best thing. Don't have a very high expectation, and then automatically you will be happy with their outcome, what they're doing.
I mean, as funny as that sounds, you do have a point, you know?
Yeah, it's
like
true.
if you're, And I mean, I think with all businesses, it's like that.
Yeah.
You know, we can't always expect that our employees are going to perform at the same level as we are. But at the same time, if they can do 70, 80% of what we can do, it's still worth delegating that task to them, because then we're freed up to work on other higher value activities. So it is very, very important. And so as you were growing your business, what are some maybe strategies or tactics that you use to boost your business's growth?
First of all, I believe consistency and keeping your old customers, like retaining your customer, is very important. You know, I know a lot of business people, they don't care. They are like, okay, if I have customer service is very, very important. You know, it's not always the customer is right. I mean, there is a statement, customer is God and customer is right. It's not true. However, you have to try your level best, maybe to make a little less profit or to give a bit of better services to retain your old customer, because getting new customers are easy, but it's very difficult to retain the old one. But when you have the old one, that will highlight on your profile. It will give your company your new customer, when they come to know that you have a customer for last 10 years, for example, they will trust you fast, like they will trust you easily, you know. So that is one of the way I practices to grow the company. And definitely recently I've started a practice where I am not looking into quantity project, I'm more looking into quality project. Like instead of having 10, 100 projects, I would rather do 5 premium project and focus on that. Yeah.
And so as you've matured in business and you've grown your organization, how has your decision-making process evolved? Maybe you're making decisions a little bit differently now that you have so many people reporting to you. Like, how has your decision-making process changed through that process?
Yeah, like I mentioned in my previous question, that I started believing more on quality than quantity. That is one of the decision thing I have changed, or I would say I evolved in my career. The other thing is that growing too fast, I think it's quite scary. Like a lot of people, they think that now that I am successful, I can, keep doing whatever I feel like. No, you have to be very careful on the kind of investment you are doing. And financially, you have to have a very good control on your cash flow, like coming in and going out. That thing has to be always balanced. Yeah.
And how did you figure out the right formula for balancing a cash flow?
I believe that there is a saying, no businessmen are saint. So, you can't be a saint and a businessman or a businesswoman. So when I say about cash flow means you shouldn't do huge investment expecting that you're receiving money. You should have the money first and then think of the investment. I know a lot of people, they will say, I'll buy a huge mansion expecting I'm getting a 10 million dirham payments coming through. And before even the payment hits your account, you already have the mansion. Now you are in debt. So we don't want to do that. I always believe you should only spread your legs up to what you can reach, And don't ever borrow money and build your castle. Like, you should always build a castle of your earned money. That's what I believe.
Yeah. So basically not outspending your earnings, right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. There is a formula called 70-30. So if you earn 70, you should spend only 30. You should not spend 30 and spend 70 and earn 30. You shouldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you save the 70% and then you spend the 30%.
Exactly. You have your current expenses, your salaries, your lot of other things. Yeah.
Awesome. And so when it comes to your business and the team that you've built, what role does company culture play in that?
We are very diverse. Obviously, living in UAE, as you might have experienced, there are so many different nationalities living under one roof, and we respect each other's culture, religion, and the way we look. Like some are dark skinned, some are white skinned, and those kind of things. So our company also have the similar kind of work culture. We don't judge people knowing where they're coming from or what language they can speak, or if they have an accent in English. No. We judge people. We actually don't judge people. We treat people the way they perform. So I have examples in my company, a guy who joined as an office boy, as a tea server. Today he is working in my company as a project manager. So we keep giving him opportunity, and he always proved us right. And, he keep working hard. So we are very happy to promote people. Doesn't matter whether he's a civil engineer or he's an architect. If you understand, or if your IQ level is high, maybe you didn't get the opportunity to start as an architect because your parents were not financially strong to provide you such education. However, in our work culture, we do give the opportunity to every single human. Yeah.
And so when you're promoting people, do you find it better to promote people from within or hiring people that are more experienced and bringing them into your organization?
It depends. Sometimes if you ask me as a founder of the company, I like promoting people within, but I did face a lot of challenge in that because sometimes I push people to become manager. However, not everybody is born with managerial skill. Some people are doers and some people are delegators. So a delegator can be a manager, not a doer. It depends on situation. Like I do sometimes headhunt. But it's tough to decide on an interview panel how good is that candidate. So known devils are better than unknown. So you can, promote somebody who is already in the company. That person capability. Yeah.
You said something very interesting. A delegator can be a manager, but a doer can't. And so I think sometimes as business owners, we might think that we have to do everything ourselves and we struggle with delegation. So if somebody's watching this and they have a business and they want to learn how to be more of a manager or a CEO or a founder, can you share a little bit of some of that process for yourself on how you became less of a doer and more of a delegator and really a founder?
Yeah. So when you are starting a business, first of all, you should have the knowledge that your business should not get stuck ever because of anyone. So, for example,
like bottlenecks in the business.
Exactly. So, for example, I'm running an interior fit out and construction company. When I started the business, I learned how to do AutoCAD drawings. I learned from YouTube, to be honest. Yeah, like literally. I learned how to do the costing by myself. I found out the cost in the market and profit margins, Excel formulas, everything. I learned how to convince client. I learned how to project manage my projects. So when I became an expert and I graded myself, now I can grade 90% out of 100. Like I know nobody can fool me around, with the cost, with the design, with the execution, with the process. That is the time I started delegating. So first I was a doer. You can't start delegating from the beginning because then you will not know what they're doing. To become a teacher, you first have to learn the lesson yourself, right? So the first few years of your business, you have to learn, you have to do. And then I would say give yourself like 4 to 5 years to be an expert. And then you start hiring managers whom you can delegate and you can teach them. So if you want to be a good leader, you have to be also in the war field. You cannot sit in the office and just give instruction. Mm-hmm. So I'm just giving you example of my own industry, right? So yeah.
No, I think that's great. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Okay, cool. Now, obviously in today's world, we have many different shifts in trend. Things are evolving and changing, and we have new updates and new technology and all that coming out. How do you stay up to date with all the newest trends and technologies?
The good examples, of course, there are websites where you can see the new design trends, and you ask your designers to go and research on those softwares, and you have to constantly upgrade their system. You can't use a system from 2020 and expect them to create a design which is trending in 2024. Mm-hmm. So that investment is continuous. You have to keep upgrading their system. You have to spend money on buying new software. And being a company owner, my R&D is like 365 days in a year, like every single day I need to keep doing research.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so would you say that there are any like particular industry events or anything like that that you kind of seek to gather information from, or is it just things that you're discovering on your own?
No, there are like example nowadays, Pinterest it's been quite famous, right? So we get a lot of ideas from that Pinterest. We also do a lot of AI research. There are a few websites which are creating AI, but I do not support that designers make designs in AI and try to sell it to the client, which is absolutely not acceptable, because the clients are paying for exclusive service, which should be bespoke, like it should be made just for them, you know. In terms of understanding what is happening in the market, we are very lucky that now we have access to our gadgets. And even if you don't want, things pop-ups in your phone, like in terms of TikTok, in terms of YouTube and Instagram and all this kind of platform. Yeah.
So as all these things are being updated and you have new designs and stuff like that, how do you make sure that your products and services are consistently exceeding customer expectations?
Our industry is a little bit different than a typical product-oriented industry because, like I said, our every project is so different, and we are very much guided by design, right? So when we design the project, there are 4 key elements that we look into. First of all, very important is client's budget. Nowadays, everyone is concerned about what they are spending, And interior is not a very, very permanent thing. It's a kind of semi-permanent. Like you can think how do I call it?
Lifespan?
The lifespan is like 4 to 5 years maximum. Then after 4 to 5 years, you might have to do some renovation. You might have to do some upgradation. So budget is very important. Second thing is, we also make sure that the products are good, sustainable. It's not like you have to keep changing the product very often.
Yeah.
And what kind of design the client like. So for example, maybe I like loud colors, you might like subtle colors. So we are 2 different people. But as a designer, you can't impose your mind on the client's choice,
Yeah.
You have to go with the flow. Yeah.
That's actually very interesting because, as a designer, they're hiring you for your expertise and your eye that you have for design. But like you said, like I've been in some situations where I like a specific style or design, and then I hire a designer and they're like, oh, trust me, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. And I'm just like, well, that's just what you like, know? So how do you kind of marry the two where like the customer has a thing or style or design that they like, and then you're the expert, what's trending, what truly is top of the line design right at this moment, and how do you kind of find a compromise there?
So first we start with something called mood board. So we will sit down. So basically interior designers work very close to the end users, very closely. Like I cannot work with his secretary. I have to work with the CEO or the person who's a decision maker. Suppose if you are doing your own office, and if you tell me to have a meeting with your secretary, trust me, your office will look like how your secretary wants, not the way you want, right?
That's hilarious.
So the first thing is, if you are planning to hire a designer, please bear some time and sit with her or him and give the right brief. What is your vision like? Okay. So if you look at Google's office, it's very exclusive design. They have different colors. So they represents, I think, also the diversity of the culture, So, and there are some people, they like minimalistic, like very little color, mostly white. Like if you look at Kim Kardashian house, it's absolutely white, all cementitious finish and all minimalistic. So you said, how do we marry each other, right? So first you have to create a mood board, which will help you to psychologically understand your client. So when I do the mood board, I show my client everything. I show them loud color, techno style, wabi-sabi style, cosmo, everything, whatever I have in my books. And then I tell the client, pick one. So let's say the guy goes and picks something which is more of a wood. There is a lot of wooden things in that. So I know that the guy is maybe more attracted towards nature. Maybe he will appreciate more greenery in his design, more wood, more simple color, neutral colors, those kind of thing. Some guy may go and pick up and design with neon and LEDs. So to make our life easy, mood board is very important. After that, you start making design and you take approvals on every phase, from the client. And eventually you will be the client's favorite because they like that you are, you're flexible. You're not somebody who's trying to. Now coming back to suggestion. The client can decide on colors and moods, but they cannot decide on the technicality. So you have to educate also your client about the technicality, about the cost, and about the time. Because some people have an expectation to give birth of a child with 9 women in 1 month, which is not possible. So in interior project, you must have a lot of patience with time because it's all about detailing and finishes. Yeah.
Definitely. And actually, you mentioned something very, very important. And I think that people can really pull a valuable lesson from this. What you're doing, this whole process, you're really just trying to understand the client. And when the client feels heard, they're satisfied because they know that you didn't just make something up that you like. They feel like you asked them the right questions to hear them out and see what they like. And then you showed them the best way to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably contributed a lot to your success.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the same approach should be in every single industry. Like even if you are going to buy a car or a house or something, the salesperson should not talk more, would rather listen more, to become a successful salesperson. Yeah.
Definitely. And so with all these business responsibilities that you have on a daily basis, how have you been able to prioritize time and the different tasks that you have?
I follow the 8-8-8 rules. So I do 8 hours of work, 8 hours of me time, and 8 hours of rest. So when I say me time, it could be socializing, it could be spending time with family, fitness and grooming, makeup, whatever you call it. And then obviously 100% 8 hours of dedicated work time. Now, it is not possible to follow the same ratio every single day of your life because sometimes you also go into the priority zone. For example, I had a project 2 months ago where the project deadline was extremely tight, and I was doing a project for a very important client who was also part of the government. So in that time, there was no 8-8-8. It was all 24 hours, just project, just sleep, get up, work, and sleep again. Yeah. So, but in general, I like the formula of 8 multiplied by 3. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a good formula. I've heard of that one before. And, just to kind of push the topic a little bit.
Okay.
There are some people that I know, including myself during certain parts of my life, where I feel like everything is a top priority when it comes to the 8 hours of work. Yeah. So I struggle personally to work only 8 hours a day because I'm like, well, this is super important and this is super important and this is super important. And I have to do all these things within this timeline. So I struggle to stop at 8 hours. And sometimes it goes into 9 or 10 or 12 hours. So have you figured out any sort of like line in the sand that you can draw where it's like, okay, this is a priority, but it's also going to be here tomorrow?
Yeah. So let's look at it in this way. For example, in every business, there is finance, there is client, and then there is your internal things, right? Like, for example, HR, administrations, and IT or whatever, Yeah. So I try to give priority to the client requirement first. So for example, if my client is chasing me for a quote or for a design or for a meeting or whatever, that's my highest priority. And then the second part comes is the financial part. Like if I have to do something which is related to money coming in to the company, that's my second priority. And the last priority is my internal thing, which can take a step back, like leave application approval, whatever. That can take a step back a little bit, So that's how I prioritize. But I do understand what you're saying. It is very difficult when you are a very passionate person or a very ambitious person to stop working. It happens to me also, but then at some point of time, we do get exhausted. Like we have to tell ourselves that, okay, now let's pull a string, And coming back to the same subject, we expect the same from our employees also, that if I'm working 16 hours, they will also come and sit and work with me for 16 hours. Poor people, they might not complain, but very soon they will leave and they will resign and go. So it's a loss for the business. So you have to balance it. So out of the 12 months, maybe you are pressurizing yourself for 6 months, but other 6 months just chill, like enjoy yourself and have fun and do something with the family just to balance it out. Yeah.
What's one investment that you've made in your business, whether it's time or money or resources, that has paid off significantly?
As I started, I told you I have no money in the beginning. So I would say time maybe, I have given a lot of my time to the companies that we have built together. And whatever money we made from the company, I have reinvested a lot inside the company to keep growing bigger. So both time and money, but definitely time first and money at the second level. Yeah. Your question is, what was the best investment?
Or I just wanted you to share like one significant payoff that you got from an investment. So like, let's say you invested 100 hours into a new licensing or a new approval, and that made you like a huge increase.
For me, our in-house facility. I know a lot of interior fit-out company in many part of the world. They depend a lot on the subcontractors. Like they take a project and they just do project. They sub it up and they sometimes hide from their client that they don't have the resources, but they will say, we'll manage. I grow the entire in-house facility, the factory, which has taken us to the next level, or maybe will take us to a very high level. We recently bought a land in Dubai Dubai Industrial City for 100,000 square feet. And we are building our entire factory, office, everything over there for 75,000 square feet. So I believe that is also our next step of investment. Yeah.
And how did you know that the right decision to make was to start bringing things in-house versus just subbing it out?
Because people were letting us down. Like there are a lot of instances I had, they will take advance payment, they will not pitch up to the site, and they promise us they will finish the job in 5 days, they will take 15 days. A lot of failing.
So quality control.
Yeah, quality control. And they were failing, so I was very scared to fail with front of my client. And I believe in business, if you lose your reputation, like I said, you must retain your old customer.
Yeah.
So you can only retain them if you have a good reputation with them.
Yeah.
So for me, my reputation is more expensive than any valuable thing in the world. So to maintain that, I started feeling that we have to build our own army. We can't depend on an outside country military to help me to win the war, So that's the
Definitely.
way.
That's a good analogy right there. I mean, it's a very wise thing that you've learned in business. And so what importance would you say brand plays, like your brand? How important has that been in growing your business so quickly?
So you only call your organization a brand when you are popular. And to gain popularity, like we can call Coca-Cola a brand, a Pepsi a brand, or Gucci or Versace or Louis Vuitton a brand, but we can't call every single popping up company is a brand, right? So I think Veloce became a brand after 9 years of being in the industry.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the beginning, we were not financially strong enough to start investing on our marketing strategies and stuff. It was just sale and produce. After like 9 years of being in the industry, when we understood the value of branding, we understood that marketing is very important.
Yeah.
We started doing that, and definitely we have maintained a standard in the market. I have a lot of clients who comes to me and approach me to do very small projects, which we don't do anymore because we can't compete with those prices which they are getting from other companies who only have 10 employees. A company with 200 employees can't compete with a company with 10 employees.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a brand, if you want to sustain as a brand, you have to maintain your standard. You can't lower it for anyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And so what kind of marketing things have you begun to invest in to continue growing your brand?
We have, obviously we have started, getting into a lot of networking events, where we meet people who understand this same industry. That is definitely one thing. Second thing is we have invested in social media. We are doing our ads to let the customer know about us, that we are also here.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things, like social media is one of them. Sometimes we also go on billboards, to really become loud for people. We attend exhibitions, we attend a lot of things like events, where we meet people, networking events, those kind of stuff. Yeah.
So how important would you say networking and relationship building has been in your business?
My entire business is about networking. Like, it's impossible. Like, out of 100, maybe 80% customers are all by word of mouth, So we do great project, then they speak about us to someone else, like their friends or their families or something. Like me, even meeting you is a networking situation.
Yeah.
So 90% is networking.
Yeah, that's very interesting. The more successful the person that I talk to, usually the higher emphasis they put on networking and relationships and stuff like that. It's very interesting, the correlation there. So anyways, this has been super fascinating. Thank you so much for joining me. Is there any final thoughts you want to share with the audience?
My thought would be success is not a shortcut. You have to work hard for it. And there are people who do get successful due to their, forefathers or fathers, from the past generation. Yeah. And if you set examples, it's rare that a guy who got everything in a golden spoon can maintain it. It's very difficult. So we as a founders, we always believe that you have to really, really work hard, or maybe work smart to be successful. That's all I want to say to the crowd.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And so if somebody wants to connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
I would say LinkedIn, maybe. Okay. You can send us a message on LinkedIn, same as Debanjali Kamstra, or you can send me email. Professionally, obviously, I also have an Instagram page, but that's more about my passion, which is related to fashion industries.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me here today, guys. This has been a fascinating conversation about, anything from pageantry to growing such a huge business in the design space, and some of the best practices that she uses to run a better business. We'll see you all on the next episode.
Thank you, Austin.